Hey guys, how's it going? This is the Lenovo C32Q-20 monitor. It's got some impressive specs. 1440p, IPS, 10-bit, and 75 Hz to boot. But to me, what's more impressive is that it has an MSRP of $250. But wait, it often goes on sale for much less. Full disclosure, I purchased this monitor with my own money, so I can go through the same experience you would if you were to purchase it. We're gonna take a look over some of the features, compare it to some other monitors, and share some of my overall experience with it. Welcome back to another review from Reviews for Life. Let's begin. Inside the box, you're greeted with the stand, HDMI cable, power cable. Pretty bare bones if you ask me, but hey, that's to be expected. Taking a look around, the design feels 2010-ish, with thick bezels and buttons for OSD controls. Some of the more modern monitors would have a bezel-free look and use a joystick just like this ViewSonic. The stand is also really limited, with only tilt and no swivel or height adjustments. But really, all these complaints are small fries compared to this VESA mount. Just look at it. It's the first time I've seen a VESA mount that's not in the center. And honestly, I find it incredibly odd. It's a solid 5¼ inches higher than the one that is centered. Yeah, that's right, I actually measured it. To see how bad this looks in practice, I placed it on a dual monitor stand, along with a monitor that has a centered VESA mount. And in this case, you're actually better off just stacking a few books underneath the stand and avoiding the VESA mount altogether. This positioning also introduces another issue. If you're planning on using it for a vertical orientation, you can forget about it, because it doesn't work and just ends up tilted. It's definitely a strange choice for sure, but hey, it's cheap, right? Ports are pretty bare bones as well. You get HDMI, DisplayPort, and an audio jack. Just be aware that the audio jack only works in HDMI modos. Moving on to the things that they've done well, the menu options are actually pretty fully featured. They include individual controls for adjusting each RGB channel independently. This way, you get a much better starting point for color calibration. The results of the calibration were pretty impressive. It obtained a 99% sRGB coverage and 76% Adobe RGB coverage. For those who don't know, most web and game content are all in the sRGB color space, so this monitor is well suited for general use. Alright, specs aside, how about real-world usage though? Well, it's everything you'd expect from a 32-inch monitor. Compared to my 27-inch, a bigger screen means I need to sit further back, and since my desk wasn't deep enough, I had to adapt. A general rule of thumb for how far you should sit back is roughly 1.5 times the diagonal of the screen. But for me, I prefer sitting a little bit closer at 1 times. A program that I use which really benefits from this monitor is DaVinci Resolve. On my 27-inch, the text just felt a little too small, and on 32-inch, it felt just right. This is because the 32-inch 1440p shares the same pixel density as the 24-inch 1080p displays, which I think is what Resolve was designed for. Moving on to movies, games, and web browsing, they're all what you would expect from an IPS panel. Colors are great and vibrant. Side by side with my 27-inch, the IPS glow is actually significantly better. One thing I didn't like about this panel though is the haze finish. It's too much for me and takes away from the overall picture quality. What I mean is that when viewing things on an all-white background, I can see subpixels show up as little specks on the screen, which to me is quite distracting. This only occurs when I'm sitting pretty close to the monitor, and unfortunately, my camera doesn't pick it up. So you'll have to use your imagination. That said, a key benefit to this haze finish is that it works very well in bright environments, especially when you're behind a window. We'll use a flashlight to simulate the glare, and you can be the judge. Although Lenovo doesn't specify the haze percentage, it's definitely more than 25%, which is my preferred value. How about that 75 Hz? It's subtle, but you'll notice it. The way I see it is it's more of a gateway drug to high refresh rates. Windows animation and mouse movement appears just a smidge smoother, but it's certainly not as game-changing as 120 Hz and beyond. When I examined the monitor for dead pixels, I noticed that there were 6 partially lit ones along the top. Under the microscope, it becomes clear what's happening. Each of those red, green, and blue lights is a subpixel, and to make a pixel, you'll need all 3. So in a partially lit case like this one, it creates a black hole in an otherwise white scene. So one thing to be aware of is to carefully read manufacturers' pixel requirements. These issues definitely aren't doing this monitor any favors, but you know what? At this price, you can probably get 2 and still come out ahead of some premium monitors. Huh, I like that idea. Let's do it. The second unboxing experience was just as underwhelming as the first, and when I ran through the same calibration process, there was a slight panel variation. I increased the brightness a little, and that's all that really was required. Overall, they're much the same, and the color difference is negligible. Once again, we'll look for some dead pixels, and I noticed that there's 6 partially lit ones on this one as well. So if you're wondering why this monitor is cheap, well, that's probably it. They're perhaps the B panels for some of Lenovo's higher end offerings, and didn't quite make it up to those standards. But here's the thing. A lot of these issues from earlier, such as the haze and the subpixels, are almost unnoticeable the moment you go into a dual monitor setup. And this is because you have to sit further back to take advantage of the additional screen space. Of course, this introduces a new issue of finding a bigger desk, but hey, first world problems, right? So what's the final verdict? Well, if you're willing to live with the VESA mount and haze issues, and you're willing to go through the process of looking for a perfect panel, then this is an incredible value. But if you're like me and don't really want to go through that process, yet still want large displays, then I would recommend getting 2 and setting them up in dual monitor mode. If you do decide to do this, you might also need to consider getting a deeper desk. Alright, that's it from me. If you've enjoyed this video, consider liking and subscribing. Stay classy, YouTube, and I'll see you in the next one.